I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is
It's
making
time
it
for another
last.
conversation. Welcome to Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. Now, I'm going to introduce a lady who is known globally because literally that's how she tags herself. She's Riana Milne. She's a global life coach, and she focuses on healing childhood and love trauma. She has been featured in Forbes. She's a number one best-selling author. She has been teaching mindset for success for over 40 years. So don't be distracted by how young she looks. She's been around for a while. She's been around for a while. But before we get into the conversation and I introduce what the topic is, tell us a little bit about at least you've written several books, but now there are two that specifically my audience might be interested in. So tell us a little bit about those two books.
Yes, they're called
Rihanna.
sisters books because they're meant to go together. One is
Okay.
called Live Beyond Your Dreams From Fear and Doubt to Personal Power, Purpose, and Success. And that's all about the mindset for success in life, love, and business. And
Okay.
then the number one bestseller is Love Beyond Your Dreams. Break free of toxic relationships to
Mm,
have the love you deserve. So you can't have one without the
mm,
other. You know, you can't have great love without having a positive conscious mindset. And until you have the positive conscious mindset, you
mm.
can't have emotionally healthy love. That's why they're meant to go together. So those are two of my 10 books that I've written that my
Okay.
coaching
Okay.
students use these. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so which is a nice segue then in what we're going to be talking about how can one overcome past unhealed childhood trauma. So tell people what you mean by childhood trauma.
Yes, very good. Well, this is a newer concept. When I went for my triple master's in applied clinical and counseling psychology, they did not mention the term childhood trauma at all. And I graduated year 2000 and started a private practice as a therapist. And I went through two love traumas myself in my lifetime. And after the second one, my husband looks at me and says, I don't know what's the matter with me. I sabotage everything I love. And I said, I don't either, but I have to figure it out because I needed to heal from his actions. So that's what led me on my journey to figure out what was it in his personality, because my mind is spinning through the psychology DSM-4 at the time, which is what we used to diagnose people. And there was nothing in
Mm-hmm.
there. And then I really decided, like through all this research and all the people that I worked with, at the time, I was holding five jobs. I was working in a school as a crisis and trauma counselor, which is called a SAC, student assistance counselor. Worked in a mental health ward of a hospital with kids 5 through 19. I worked part time at a drug and alcohol facility, one for teens and one for women from the prison system. I worked in private practice. So, all these different modalities, I found no matter the age, the sex, the race, the culture, these top 10 childhood traumas kept coming up. So at that
Wow.
point, 2012, I developed a childhood trauma checklist, a simple assessment tool where people could see, do I have any of these top 10 traumas? And then when I talk to someone, I then assess the severity of each one. And then it
That's
definitely
fine.
ties to the type of people that they are attracting in life, love, and business. So it's their life success is based on have they healed these initial 10 traumas. So
Okay.
there are more than 10 traumas, and all the research shows this goes through at least three generations. So let's go into what the
Wow.
top 10 are.
That are. Mm-hmm.
So the first one is, again, as a child, it's your whole environment. So school, work, play environment. It could have happened anywhere. So, did you grow up with people that had addiction in their life? Now, I'm also an addictions counselor. So, some
Okay.
other
Okay.
assessment tools will say, did they use drugs or alcohol? Well, there's 12 addictions I named: drugs, alcohol,
Mm.
sex, meaning you knew your parent was cheating, porn use, gambling, hoarding, spending, eating, gaming, TV watching, social media usage or just being on the computer. So these are some of the addictions that could have been popping up. So is there any of those addictions? Number two is verbal messaging. So have you heard the words, I love you, or I'm proud of you? Or did you hear critical messages like you'll amount to no good, or you'll always disappoint me? Well, kids will become what you tell them. So you have to be very careful and be very conscious about the words you use to your children. Also, in verbal messaging, how did your family handle conflict? Did you see your parents yelling and screaming at each other when they were angry, or did they sit down and settle a problem peacefully? So, if it was negative, verbal messaging can be really important in what you're attracting into your life. Number three is emotional abuse and neglect. Number four is any physical abuse, rape, or molestation. Five is around abandonment. So I named two types, fault and no fault abandonment. So a no fault abandonment would be if a parent happened to die early, or if they had to go serve their country in war and had to leave for a long period of time, or even a parent that works away from home and they're barely home, but that's how they support their family. So they feel they're doing a good thing. And that was one of mine. My dad was FBI, CIA. We didn't know it. He was like James Bond. But I do remember asking as a kid, where's dad? When's daddy coming home? Like, just where is he? So it leads to this anxiety, right? That's around abandonment. And then there's fault abandonment. So that would be never being in your child's life or being there while the couple is together. Or you could even be there physically, but emotionally detached. So you don't support your kids at their school events. Or that's the example of someone working all day at the office, coming home, grabbing a bite to eat, and then going into their home office and working all night and not really being engaging with the kids. So there's different forms of abandonment, but it's super important.
We take a break to get a word from our partners.
I loving you, mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is...
You can't live your best life without a healthy immune system. Boost your immune system the delicious way with Zappy's organic juices and punches. Made from local produce with zero added sugar, our juices cleanse and revitalize your body as they boost your natural immunity. Try our delicious flavors: Beat It, Berry Bomb, Get Fresh, Ton Up, and Island Splash. Find us on Instagram at Zappy's Organics, or call or send a WhatsApp message at 1-876-779-8910 to order today. That's 1-876-779-8910. Zappy's Organic Juices and Punches. Live your best life today.
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Buddy program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at langdolanguage@gmail.com. Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Buddy program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at langdolanguage@gmail.com. Because the real question is, how can we help you?
I loving you, mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
Welcome back to this conversation with Riana Milne on how can one overcome past unhealed trauma.
Then the next one would be if you were adopted, part of the foster care system, and I worked with a lot of foster kids, or if you had to go live in somebody else's home because your parents couldn't keep you there. Number 7 is one that most people recognize. We call that personal trauma. So were you ever bullied as a kid? Or maybe you were a chubby kid or skinny and gawky and called a nerd. Maybe you were the only African American in an all Caucasian school. Maybe you came from a different culture and different language, so you didn't know the English language, or coming out as LGBTQ teen and you weren't accepted. So many people can relate to feeling different, not good enough, and that is under trauma 7. Trauma 8 is sibling trauma. So your sibling could have bullied you, or they may have been seen by you as being the golden child, the more handsome or beautiful, the more successful student, the star athlete, and you just felt you couldn't measure up. Or they were born with a medical issue and they commanded more of mom's and dad's time. Trauma 9 has 2 traumas. I actually had to bring trauma 11 down to the top 10 list because as I was growing up, this was very uncommon, but it's one of the top traumas now, which we call community trauma. So this is around like our COVID pandemic, our Mother Nature events, our floods, fires, hurricanes, wiping out large communities. Anything that's affecting us as a world or global or community, our wars, these are certainly impacting everyone.
Yes.
And then the other side of 9 is family trauma. So if you grew up in poverty or had heard a lot of lack messages, even if you might have had a nice home, but heard, we can't pay the heating bill this month, or food is so expensive, we never have enough money, those messages constantly as a kid. If one of your relatives was incarcerated, or you were part of a military family and you had to move every 2 to 4 years here in the US, those kids and then are always the new kid in school, so there's a lot around family that's going on. But those are just a few examples. And then trauma 10 is mental health illness in mom or dad. And the baby boomers, which I'm a part of, we didn't see our parents go to counseling. But if your parent had, these are the 2 most difficult: bipolar, which is manic depressive. So depression can come out as anger, just being absent from your family emotionally, or extreme fatigue. And then the manic phase, people think, well, that's the high and happy phase, right? Well, very often it's tied to an addiction, like a spending spree or a gambling spree. Yeah, so it's not usually a good one. And then borderline personality disorder, I think, is the most disruptive one. That's real erratic moods. When they're good, they're great. When they're bad, they're horrid. And the child never knows which one they're going to get or walk in the door from school. So they're always raised in a state of anxiety. So those are the top 10 traumas that I identified on my childhood trauma checklist.
What is interesting is not the word, but what is sobering in all of what you just described. I am sure somebody who will listen, who will watch this, will say, but I can identify with several of these. So how can I really then overcome, all of this?
Yes.
Riana, is it really something that can actually happen? Or is it
yes, that's exactly what I do. From my research, I have many, many solutions in the toolbox. I'm a certified clinical trauma professional, which they call CCTP advanced. So there's many different tools depending what my client has gone through. That's why I do these assessments first, and what they're struggling with as an adult. Then we have to heal the past, give them a different mindset for today that will propel them into the future that they desire. So yes, that's the great news, that this can be healed. But then how does it show up in life, love, and relationships, right? How does it show up? So let's say you tend to have jealousy. Well, that usually comes from trauma 7 and trauma 2, which is trauma 7, again, not feeling good enough as a young person, or being bullied, feeling different. As an adult, you may be confident, you may have a good career, and you're banging it out of the box in your career, but then you just keep struggling in love and keep choosing the wrong partners. That's what I usually see. Successful in business, but struggle in love. And then trauma to the messages that they got growing up. You're not good enough, or that you never, excel, or you're not going to amount to anything. Why should I pay for college for you? These kind of messages will stay. People remember them their whole life, because they are so impactful. So that's where jealousy and control comes from. Perfectionism or people pleasing. A lot of women do people pleasing. A lot of men do perfectionism. So people pleasing is trying to please a difficult parent so that no matter what, you have peace in the home. So overdoing, over cleaning, being the sweet little girl, all those things, so that someone like that, a woman might say, and I had a client in my office, she goes, I do everything for my husband and my family, and they do nothing for me. I always show my love and they show nothing back. And the husband said, well, I don't ask you to do all those things. So she was in this people pleasing mode to get her love. And she didn't recognize that, of course. So we had to go back to her past to heal why she was doing that, so she could become more consciously aware.
We know you're enjoying the conversation with Riana Milne as she discusses how can one overcome past unhealed trauma. But this is the end of part 1. Join us next week for part 2.
Friends for life won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.